to realize they can be leaders. Na kwa hao vijana, on Friday we saw Kasmuel. All right? Na amezungumziwa sana na hata jana tumemwona akiwa na Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. What is your take about that? Kwa sababu nyote mlikuja wakati sana.
Paka aliongea Bomas actually.
Na hata akazungumza Bomas.
I disagree with what Kasmuel has done. I wish we were close friends. And I wish I was in a position to have advised him. But he believes in himself and he believes what he's doing is right. The reason Kasmuel is doing what he is doing is because he is interested in politics in Mcoure.
Okay.
And he believes that the person who can make it possible is Raila.
Okay.
That is why he began by associating with Gaucho, then Gaucho took him to Raila. And that is why he associates with ODM MPs and takes photos with them. He is, coming closer to be a member of ODM and to start participating in ODM because he believes that will be his journey to politics in Migori County.
Okay.
But kama Kasmuel angekuja kwangu, I would advise him.
Alright.
I would have told him that the politics of Kenya is changing. And even if you look at the support that the Honorable Raila Odinga had, it has gone down ever since he joined the government now, wakati ambao take advantage of the Gen Z demonstrations and benefited himself. I would have told him that Migori is the only county where you don't need an ODM ticket to win anything. Mheshimiwa Okoth Obado won governorship, which is the most senior position in Migori County, without an ODM ticket. You can always win in Migori without ODM, because ukishaingia ODM, watakuinject values. Watakuinject values za ODM. And from what he saw in Bomas, ODM believes in violence. And anywhere where is an ODM zone, there's usually very serious violence, beginning with Migori. You've seen the kind of violence that is usually in Migori for goons. Hata kuna wakati mmoja, hata Ali Hassan Joho driver wake alipigwa risasi. Na hata Orengo walipigwa.
Rafiki mkubwa sana wa Chris the Base, by the way, Hassan Ali Joho.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of inasaidia nini?
A lot of violence in Migori, a lot of violence in Nairobi. Kitu ingine ningemueleza. I'm not asking for his sympathy or for his pity. Lakini kwa sababu tulikuwa Bomas pamoja. Na kwa sababu alikuwa amekaa na wale viongozi kule juu kwa VIP dais. Mimi kama kijana mwenzake, tunachipuka mapema. Tunachipuka pamoja. This was the time to defend a brother. This was the time hata kuambia wale viongozi hapana, stop, don't incite apigwe. Wacha atolewe nje kama hamumtaki. That was the time he should have at least stood with me. So that he makes a friend.
Very true.
For a rainy day. For a rainy day. Kwa sababu iko siku pia yeye atahitaji usaidizi wangu. That was the time to make a friend. To say at least I have a brother young like me. We came up together from the Gen Z demonstrations we've risen as young leaders. He stood with me and fought with me. So I think he missed the point there. And he has also missed it on joining hands with Raila with the hope of, venturing into Migori politics. So he's going the wrong direction. But you see, somebody who believes that they are a leader in their own right, you cannot purport to advise them beyond what they know.
Alright.
Wakati mwingine you find your advice is not welcome. They have their own way of doing things and they've already seen their breakthrough and they have already calculated their formula towards their breakthrough. So you just let them go. If they succeed, good.
Well and good.
If they fail, you told them.
It is what it is.
Welcome to my channel. So that was a soundbite from an interview Morara did on Tuesday on Radio Maisha. So the whole interview was like 46 minutes long. So if you're interested in it, I'm going to link it below. So I want to expound on the soundbite I've just played on the intro. So if you listen to it carefully, it seems like Morara thinks Kasmuel was present when he was being attacked at Bomas on Friday, yet he didn't do or say anything to come to his aid. Kasmuel as well did an interview on Obina TV on Monday. So Obina asked him whether he's a sellout, because that's the rumor that's floating at the moment, and whether he knew Morara had been attacked and if he knew why he didn't come to his aid. And this is what he had to say about the issue.
Hate on social media.
I have.
Are you planning to get away from social media?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't warrant it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen anything substantial or substantive that would make me want to leave social media. I mean, if it gets to a point where I feel like social media is useless for me, then I'll exit. But for now, it still works pretty well for me.
A lot of people didn't want me to host you today.
Right.
Do you think I made the right decision?
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna get cancelled because of you, bro. Me, man, get cancelled. You're gonna give me one of your suits, bro. I want your suit. I want that tie. I want your cologne, bro. Let's go to where look.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't know. You'll tell me after the end of the interview if you made a good decision.
Nah.
Yeah.
Only God knows.
Only God knows.
Only God knows, bro.
Right.
Our future is written by only God. Yeah. So you're here. So let's address the elephant in the room.
Right.
You were bought.
No.
What happened?
No, I've not yet been bought. And
you were coached with a couple of people. according to what they're saying.
Right.
You were coached, someone called you their son, then they saw you with Robert Alai, and then somehow you're being spruced up somehow. Then when you got on the podium, you said a couple of things that were going left instead of going right. And a lot of people are like, well, sell out, traitor, da.
Right.
So, let's paint a picture of that day, how the day was.
Yeah.
What time you got up, where you went, who you met,
Yeah.
until by the time you're speaking.
Right. So I had an interview at, it must have been K24. I had an interview at K24 at an 8 a.m.
Okay.
And we were speaking about the impeachment of the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua.
Okay.
And I was on a panel with a guy called Kennedy and Dr. Isaac Hassan.
Okay.
And I was saying that the state of the nation was so bad as things stood, to the point where the interview felt like an echo chamber because we all agreed on whatever the motion was. And I remember when they were rolling the clips of the public participation, I was very curious. I asked a very curious question. I was like, has Nairobi begun? Because it was towards 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what Nairobi public participation looked like. Then I asked, I actually remember asking, are you guys streaming from KICC? And then Chacha, the presenter, told me, it's been moved from KICC to Bomas. Then I went to my Twitter and put out a tweet and said, I hear that the public participation has been moved from KICC to Bomas. We'll be there no matter what. And I said, we'll impeach both of these people. Yeah, then I leave the interview and I head over to Bomas. I actually had breakfast with a friend after, and then I went to Bomas. So the way I typically go to places, I usually believe that I do not need, for example, a bulletproof vest. I do not need security because the bulletproof vest I wear is the vest of my morality and what I think it is, my principles and what I stand for. Those are things I'm willing to die for. At the interview, I remember when I was preparing for my K24 interview, I had this frustration asking, why can't we just deal with the entire executive? And I was not just speaking off the cuff. I did a lot of research, and a lawyer that I really admire his thought process, the way he prosecutes matters, and the way he litigates, the way he writes, called Nelson Harvey. He had done an interview, I think, the previous day on Spice, and was outlining, is it possible to impeach both? And what does that look legally? What are the ramifications of Parliament? And from that, I concluded that based on what Parliament has raised, it is not currently possible to impeach both. And we would not have revoked that decision in the public participation. So I went to Bomas to add my voice because I am of the opinion that we need, if I'm getting one less demagogue, I am more than happy to drain the swamp. So I get to Bomas. I got there alone and I walked around. I found some youth, they were happy. And of course, unajua tu vijana wa Nairobi, wakisema, oh, kiongozi, sababisha, whatnot. Me, whenever I have money and I see people who desperately need it, I give it away. Then I got in, I met some people who look like bouncers, I spoke with them kidogo, and so the crowd was charging, and it was charging towards the entrance. A lot of the entrances at Bomas were closed because by the time I was getting there, it was rather late, I won't lie. Then I tried an entrance, there was a long line, I couldn't make it. Tried another entrance, there was a long line. Then I went to, I don't know if that was the main entrance or whatever, because I started from the side coming all the way up. Met some cops, talked to them, told them, hey man, I'm trying to enter into this public participation and whatnot. And then I talked to another guy, he told me, okay, come, enter, go through this other side. So I go to the side door and I stayed at the panel. And at the time, I'm told that kumekuwa na vita ya watu wa Gen Z. And I was wondering, vita ya watu wa Gen Z wapi? I'm told that Morara has been beaten. I was like, this is not possible. Again, I'd not met him. And I was not at Bomas for a long time. So I get in there and I find there's this bouncer-ish looking guy and we talk and I ask him, hey, what's up? And he says, hey, kuja side. The place I stand, there's a young lady who's on the other side and he says, hata ndio ule Gen Z mwingine pale, kama umekuja kutuharibia hapa mkutano ama kuongeza vitu zako utatujua. At the time, there are a few young men who were standing where I was, and they start roughing me up and telling me, hey, umekuja hapa kufanya nini. In my head, I thought they were going to rob me. And remember, I was wearing some tuxedo. And I was like, hey, mazee, sijui if I break my phones. Then I ran into a place where I think it was a VIP holding area where they were having tea and whatnot. So I sit in there, and the the waitresses who were there, they tell me, hey, mazee, you just sit here. It's risky out there and whatnot. And we just start talking and those kinds of things. Then the MC comes. Because I was asking myself, why are there people here and why are they still talking and what's the crowd like? And we start talking. And we had a great conversation. It's the MP Wakili Lodge for Madare. And we get talking and I tell him I'm trying to leave the place because it's hella unconducive for me. I'm just scared because I didn't come here with the team. But I was like, I'm scared for my phones. So he told me, give your phones to this person. And this is after our conversation. We had a really interesting conversation. Asked him, what does politics look like? What are you guys thinking and whatnot? So I get in there. But then he said, no, if you don't want to leave, then you could just come and sit. That's how I get onto the podium. Then I start working my way into the crowd, talking to these people. Then I meet I met two MCAs and we talked. We had a great time. And then I asked about the motion. I asked what is the ground saying, because you just don't walk into a meeting that you've not mobilized and think you can say whatever it is. That's what I realized. That's how I enter any place. Even when we went to court on Tuesday, I sneak in, I ask what are the people saying, and then we figure it out. Then I see Alai, with whom I've had online tiffs forever, and I was like, this is a chance for us to stick, because there's a video that he had put out and I thought had a lot of sense. So I walk over, and now I'm in the dais. I'm in the dais, and people are doing public participation, and people are given the mic. They go to speak Okochini. When the leader of the program gets, I think now the person who requested the mic from me was an MCA I was seated next to. And for a very long time, we've been trying to go to their word, but we just never made it happen. So he goes and he asks, and he says, there's a microphone. Da-da-da. We spoke, and he was like, oh yeah, sound like a cool guy. Then he requests the microphone for me, and then that leader of the program, the MP, says that I should come and speak. Then he ushers me to speak onto the podium. Now for me, I asked what the ground was saying, and I was told that we're here for Gachagwa's impeachment. And I spoke specifically to that. And this is from research, but also from self-preservation, because now I'm in a den where I asked myself, why is there a full hall of people and people are not chanting what they've always been saying that they're chanting on social media? But also, this was a very unique opportunity to say to these people's faces what I've always said online. So I go ahead, and I was rather nervous. If you watch that clip, I'm kind of shaky. I'm saying Viva Gen Z, Viva, and everyone's saying Viva. Gen Z, hoye. Normally, there's a very specific chant that Gen Z starts singing and chanting. And I was wondering, if you guys are here, why aren't you saying that? Why aren't you saying, oh, Ruto must go, for example? And I was like, fine, I stick to the issues. And for me, that was a very personal position. This is a personal position that I'm very unrepentant of. I will prosecute matters one by one, because I have seen the effectiveness of how, when we rallied together around the finance bill, we got it to get done. Then certain voices started telling us, oh, now we can demand for the cabinet, demand for the resignation. Then all of it just crumbled. And we ended up being we lost lives, we were called treasonous criminals, property was lost, and we put our bodies on the streets, and we got nothing out of it. That's what my personal opinion has been. On to speaking up to, so that's what it was. And I make a speech and I talk about healthcare, I talk about education, I talk about unemployment, and about the impeachment, because it's a thing that I actually support. That I think the deputy president does not serve the best interest for the country. He does not speak to Article 20, does not speak to Article 90, does not speak to, I think, is it 87? And for me, as I've always maintained, with that ruthless focus, with the surgical precision, if this is what it means, if this is what Parliament has brought us, this is a Parliament that I've consistently disagreed with, but they're doing one thing right. They're giving me the right impeachment motion. This means that they have the capacity for good. It is in that legislative house that bills are made, that laws are made, and if this is a precedence they're setting, I think it's a thing which progressively we can have, and then figure out how to proceed from there. Are we going to start a motion against impeaching the president? If they've not tabled it on the house, on the floor, I think I'm sick and tired of going to the streets and seeing other people's children die just for clout. I'm sick and tired of going to the streets for entire days for no apparent reason, then other people perform a capture harvest. So that's my line of reasoning. As unpopular as it were, I went there and I said I'm very unrepentant about my speech, because I'm very clear about where I'm trying to go, and what liberation looks like in my mind. That there are people who will see the bigger picture much, much later, and that's on them. That's not on me. So I asked, and I remember being very confused, asking what about my speech was wrong. Then I come to later understand that it's because I did not speak about the attack of Morara, which is a thing that is rather despicable and rather shameful. That violence would be meted upon a young person in Kenya, and I would see why people would be outraged, but I did not witness it. So I could not speak upon something that I had not witnessed. I just heard about it, but I didn't know. I could not verify. I had not seen. I much later now, when I'm receiving calls, I was like, have I blundered somewhere? What? Because I remember texting my friends, did I say something wrong at Bomas? Then now I'm being told, hey, why didn't you speak about the violence meted on Morara? In my head, I'm like, one, I wasn't following the proceedings online because I did not have my phones. I had given them to Mheshimiwa's bodyguard, and I'm so grateful actually to him, because I don't know how I would have navigated that space if he had not been so kind. So that's what the Bomas experience looks like for me. And that's why it's a rather confusing experience. I'm like, if this is what gets me cancelled, then I'm totally fine.
That's not the first time Kasmuel has received backlash from mostly Gen Zs. He started receiving backlash when he was first spotted with Sylvana Sosoro, that is the majority chief whip of UDA. And guys really hate him because he was one of the MPs who supported the rejected 2024 Finance Bill Act, and he was very vocal about it. So when he was spotted laughing with this guy, he had to make a video apologizing to Gen Zs. He was claiming he's not both, and it was just a by the way meeting because they go to the same church. But then he also had to do another interview on TV 47, And this time around, he told people he's not your representative. So there's no way you can brand him a sellout. So let's just hear what he had to say.
Received money from Kenyans. There are people who keep on telling me I'm doing such a great job, and there's people who've decided to fuel my car. Occasionally, someone gives you a 10 ngwizi, 20 ngwizi. That's totally fine. Yes, that I have received. Yes. But
so when you look at the future, what do you have to tell those who are saying, and they are really saying that you're a sellout, and that's the tag that is hanging on your head right now?
For me, I was called a clout chaser. I was called a government project. Do you think I care for the labels that they give me? The label does not matter. If I organize to take political power, I'll take political power. And I do not, a revolution is not a popularity contest. I'm not here to be liked. I'm not here to be a celebrity.
Okay.
I'm here to try and change what leadership looks like. And this is the thing which, now recently, these people have been trying to blow up my phone, but they have the wrong number, and I'm really sorry, because even sometimes I feel so sad that it does not get to me that you kusalimiwa and whatnot, because they accuse me. Let's think about Bomas. Let's paint a picture of what Bomas was.
Just briefly.
Like. Yes, no, that's totally fine. We had agreed as Kenyans that we would attend public participation and air our views.
Yes.
The views being that the Kenyans wanted to impeach the entire presidency. The venue was moved from KICC, it was moved to Bomas. I went to Bomas, and I get into Bomas and I encounter a lot of pushback. I'm wondering what kind of crowd is this? I meet the police, and people expect me to be militant the entire time. I was just trying to gain access into a building, and I asked them kindly, could you kindly show me where I can enter? And I spoke to them at kidogo at length, and they told me, the way, based on how you've spoken, please enter through this other side. I was guided to that other side, and at some point I get into the hall, and if you were at Bomas, which a lot of these Kenyans were not, you understand that climate was really, you could not be using your phone. So somebody tells me that ule jenzi mwingine amepigwa, and now I came to learn after I had left Bomas that Morara had been beaten. I got onto I listened to the ground and asked, what's happening here?
Okay.
A lady pointed out and says that, oh, na ule jenzi mwingine, he has come to sikuwa amekuja kuharibu, tutadeal na yeye vile alidila ule mwingine. So I ran into a VIP thing, and then I speak with one of the MPs who were there, and they were like, oh yeah. I told them I'm afraid. They kept my phones with their security person,
okay,
and they invited me to dais. So I keep on asking Kenyans this thing that they're accusing me of, where they said I walked into Bomas in a GK vehicle. I wore a very conspicuous tuxedo. I'm a very hard man to miss. I can be many things, but I'm very elaborate in my dressing.
Okay.
How then are there no videos of me entering Bomas? There are videos of me leaving Bomas, and I was escorted by the young men who thought that I was coming to advance a different agenda. And this is what I'm saying. This whole intolerance that we want to advance as Kenyans, I said I will not be party to. I've actually said this on record, that I will pursue the most peaceful method, the most self-sustaining method, and this includes dialogue. And this might sound very controversial. I intend to use diplomatic methods.
Okay.
So in pursuing police reforms, I will use dialogue. Until a point where dialogue fails, that is when I will go to the
5
streets.
seconds. So
to the political class,
yes,
I will use dialogue. To the point where it does not work, I will go to the streets. To the Kenyans, I will use dialogue. Then we see how to advance this. So this question, I think if you are listening to me in this interview, and I feel...
I have been listening.
Yes, because we are pressed for time.
Yes.
The answer should have come out. Yes, the answer should have come out, because now I would ask you, what is the classification of a sellout? You cannot call me a sellout if you never owned me in the first place. And that's why I've said, I will only go where I'm respected and needed, not tolerated. So this whole sham that we are propagating on social media, where now people want to play tribal cards, people want to do all these kinds of things. If you want a leader who can be accountable to you, you have to invest and own that leader. You said that I was not your leader. You cannot call me a sellout for pursuing things, because I have a people that I had abstained from meeting. I have a home. I have a home base that I said, let me stay away from this home base a little, because I want to see if we can advance a totally different agenda. Now the people from my home base have called me, and they are happy to be with me, and I am truly happy to be with the people of my home.
Okay.
I'm truly happy to work with all the youths. I'm truly happy to unite the youth under a particular banner. But what I will not do is keep on risking my life for ungrateful Kenyans.
Hanging out with Raila. That's actually Raila's current home. The guy sitting next to Kasmuel is Gaucho. Him and Raila. This is the picture that started circulating on X. Miguna had something to say about the photo. He said, whatever you do at night or behind closed doors will be exposed. The liberation of Kenya will never be betrayed or sabotaged by conmen, opportunists, and quislings. The hashtag non-stop daily protests, Kufa Dereva, Kufa Bakanga, Ruto Rigathi, Raila must go, Ruto must go in 2024. So Kasmuel responded to that message from Miguna. He said, Daktari, this was no secret. It is a moment that I'm proud of and own fully. It was a deliberate decision shaped by a Kenyan reality. I've sought your guidance on multiple times without receiving clear answers. You me of many things, but not of lacking transparency on my concerns about the movement, certain individuals within it, or my process of consultation. In my careful analysis of the country's current state, after bravely pursuing various strategies despite insults and surface-level support, I found that learning from the Honorable Raila Odinga offers one of the most realistic paths to achieve and change I'm after. We go back to Friday. It seems like Kasmuel was ushered in peacefully at Bomas as a VIP. Made it to the VIP section, and then you had his speech where he only chanted Gachagua must go, which is a totally different stance from what he was chanting before, because before he was saying Ruto must go plus Gachagua as well. So you've had his reasons for just chanting Gachagua. I don't know whether you believe them. So just compare Kasmuel's reception to Morara's. See, this is Morara being barred from entering Bomas.
Iko sawa. Kebaso. Ndio hapa chini. Ndio iko na hiyo. Hapa haraka. Pole pole wewe. Acha ni peke yake, Acha peke yake aingie. Acha ni peke yake.
Morara Kebaso.
Kumanda. Sawa.
After Morara tried several times to gain entry and he succeeded eventually, but shortly after he gained entry, he was attacked and had to flee for safety. So that left an impression that he wasn't invited in that event because his narrative was different from the organizers. So I'm really saddened by this rift that's been created between Morara and Kasmuel because they are among the Gen Zs that have really stood out. I was really looking forward to them working together, but it seems like the old politicians have started trying to grab them so that they can endear themselves to the younger generation who form a very huge voting bloc. Kasmuel is going to help ODM to boost their numbers of young people because he's received a lot of backlash, so much so that he's lost a lot of followers on his social media platforms. So if it's a mistake that he's decided to work with Raila, it's going to be evident as days go by. And I hope he's going to learn from the mistake and gain wisdom from that. I haven't written him off because he's a young guy, he's still learning and he's new in this political arena. So while it's wise to seek guidance from experienced politicians, it's good to also be aware that these politicians are opportunists. They'll want to use you for the votes you can swing their way. So I don't know what the other young politicians who are waiting to take over, like Babu Owino and Sifuna, are feeling, because it seems like Raila has skipped them and gone straight to work with Gen Zs. So just pray for these guys because they're still young. That is Morara and Kasmuel, and Morara especially because he's a targeted man. So just like this video, let me know your thoughts about the whole saga in the comment section below. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.